Thank you. And again, thanks for having us again. I'd love to be able to do this in person with all of you next year, and we appreciate the partnership. So again, thank you. Go ahead, Jim. So it's a little different setup. We're going to talk for work from home, but also, I think I have some valuable information that will certainly. I've been listening to the presentations, and I think some of the data we have will help you fund some of your projects. Um, Snapshot on Seven Signal. If some of you don't know us, certainly a 13-year-old business, and today we're in well over 200 customers, over 30 partners, 12 patents. Our 13th one will be issued in about a month, and certainly GDPR compliant. And we're in just over 10 of the Fortune 500 companies. So I think, Sam, we've got poll number 1. So
we have indeed.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so first question is, what's the most, oh, no, this isn't the right one. I apologize for that. Yeah, so it's about lost productivity. So just asking people to guess how much they think an organization loses due to lost productivity. So we've got some pound values here. So for those people overseas, apologies if you're not familiar with pound sterling, but just give people a couple of seconds to answer that. We can share the results. Looks like the majority of people are plumping for the right answer there.
They're Google searching, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. All right, give everybody a couple more seconds and then we'll share the results of that. Close. Okay, there we go. So 50% said over 300,000. Just under half went for the tier down. Not many people thinking it's under 100,000. So I think people are quite in tune there, Tom, with the real cost of lost productivity.
That's great. We've got a really smart group on the phone or on the webinar. So you're right. It is over 300,000. So if some of you don't know IDC, an analyst company in Boston, did a fairly significant research project on Wi-Fi, specifically to one of our products, Mobileye, across 10 large global enterprises. And if you see down the difference, or here's a couple of interesting facts around outages, MTTR, FTEs, lost productivity, hours. I'm not going to go through them all. We can certainly share more of this later. Again, this is their data, but really, really powerful. So go ahead, Jim, to the next slide. As we go through this, you'll find that once you get to $1 million of an ROI for a CIO, they will stop what they're doing and listen. Their bonuses kick in. They're incented to find ways to fund projects, and this was a fairly exhaustive study. Nobody has it. We just got the results last week, so you're the first to see this. So getting back to the lockdown. So right now, certainly throughout Europe, we have a situation where work from home is not is not a temporary thing. It is here to stay. So as we peel this back, Jim, go ahead. So at Q1 2020 was business as usual. Generally, about 16% of all workers were working remote, but the majority of us were working in an office. The budgets were to fund office projects. From a Q2 perspective, suddenly COVID hits. COVID comes in and chaos happens. People are working from home, offices are shut down. We're trying to figure out what's the future. Satellite offices, what's going to be the new normal? And then Q3, what happens now is I think we've started to figure this out, and the new norm is now here. And what we're finding from talking to the largest and middle market companies is that it's never going back to the way it was. 16% of workers were working from home before COVID. I think it was more than 80% during COVID. And then moving forward, once COVID passes, the number is over 32% of workers will be remote forever. May not be the same 30+% every single week, but remote is here to stay. And what does that do to our budgets? So if you talk to an IT at the Wi-Fi level, engineers and support people, they're saying, hey, if they're not in our four walls, we don't support them. We have barely enough time and money to do what we need to do. You talk to the CIO level, they're now looking at this saying, we need to make sure our people are productive working from home. They've got a lot of problems going on, whether it be children also working from home, another adult working from home, and Wi-Fi is the oxygen for the remote worker. A couple of stats here from large companies. Go ahead, Jim. And then for work from home, the two interesting facts on here I wanted to share where 70%, 76% of the people are using video like we're doing today, but also 68% of the work from home people have two adults working from home. And certainly, as we're experiencing today, as schools are closed in many countries, you have not only two adults, but also some number of school-age children working from home. So it becomes, your house is now a small office. Go ahead, Jim. The universities also need to transform, right? So they're doing things differently. In the past, universities used to be that you had $1 million Wi-Fi problem on a $10,000 budget, and now they're trying to reinvent education, how it's delivered. I've got 3 in college, and they're all doing it virtually, but I'm still paying the same fees, right? They still have an infrastructure to support, so they need to reinvent this. Go ahead, Jim. And then finally, getting into Mobileye and what we're doing for work from home. So with Mobileye, being able to put software on virtually any device and getting 24/7 information on the Wi-Fi end user experience has proved to be very, very valuable. When we launched the product a couple of years ago, it was really meant for corporate employees. But when COVID hit, we did a very significant pivot, and it has exploded. Go ahead, Jim. From a work from home perspective, Mobileye has produced significant ROI for companies. And here's a snapshot. Again, coming from IDC, that it was a 670% ROI, more effective, 3 months to pay back their investment. You can flip through the next two. Network related efficiencies, so 33% more efficient, downtime, and then most importantly, end user productivity. It's over 3,000 plus on a productivity perspective. There's a lot more data behind here, but on average, it's about $1 million of an ROI to a CIO that they can reallocate to other projects to do some of the things that we've heard about today. So I think this, information and study is going to be helpful for everybody. But I think it's the first one that I know of that's been done by an independent third party specific to Wi-Fi. Go ahead, Jim. And then for everybody here today, we do have a white paper that it's for you about how to supporting the digital experience for work from home people. So if you go to go.7signal.com, it's on the bottom right /design day. You'll get that white paper emailed to you without a problem. Hopefully, you'll find that very beneficial. Next, Jim.
All right, great. Thanks, Tom. And I think we're ready for poll number 2, Sam.
So what is the most common cause of home network problems, do you think? Is it the fact that there's just no Wi-Fi design? Is it the internet circuit? Is it a coverage problem? Could it be some interference, or does it just vary? Keen to hear what people think based on their own experiences. Unfortunately, I think that poll slightly misfunctioned, Jim.
Oh.
Apologies about that.
Well, that's okay. The correct answer is it depends. Isn't that always the right answer? Great. Okay. Yeah, let's jump in then and look at Mobileye. Look at exactly how it can help you. As you heard from Tom, COVID-19 has really had a massive effect on the workforce. And so we've been working hard to adapt Mobileye to help with these new support needs that extend outside of the enterprise. So Typical visibility tools and infrastructure tools are giving us great visibility and monitoring capabilities inside the enterprise LAN. But of course, with a mobile workforce, we don't have the luxury of all that extra visibility. So that's where Mobileye can help out. So with our endpoint agent running on Windows, Mac, and Android, you can get visibility from the true client Wi-Fi experience that goes anywhere the client goes. And so, what we're seeing in work from home environments are our customers are telling us that they're hearing many of the same Wi-Fi issues that they heard before. There's a lot of ambiguity in these kind of things, right? People say the Wi-Fi is slow, it doesn't work, I can't connect. Yeah, we all know that there are dozens and dozens and dozens of underlying causes that could result in that kind of behavior. A lot of it isn't even Wi-Fi. Some of the new problems we're hearing though is, my Zoom call or Teams call or GoToWebinar call, dropped. Hopefully that doesn't happen to us this morning. Or I have to turn video off to make my audio okay. And again, problem. We get a good description of the problem from the end user's perspective, but they don't tell us anything really about the underlying network performance. So what we're seeing with Mobileye is we can identify a lot of these problems automatically when they occur, and we can go back in the past and see some of them. So we can see coverage issues, interference issues, congestion issues, even roaming problems at home, and issues with internet speed, which is of course a significant and new concern with remote employees. So let's have a look. So this is what a coverage issue looks like in Mobileye, and it's very easy to pick it out from our timeline of Wi-Fi problems that we detect. One of the changes we've noticed with all this remote work is often the network team is not the one supporting those employees. Sometimes you are, and I'm sorry if you have to do that. But a lot of these the support calls start and end at the help desk, and so we've really worked hard to make Mobileye a lot more help desk friendly, so they can come into a simple interface, see green, yellow, red indications for certain problems, and know exactly what they're troubleshooting, right? Because without this, you're working on a network you have no visibility and control into. You don't know the design, you don't even know the hardware involved. So it's a little bit like those frustrating calls you make to the cable company to troubleshoot home Wi-Fi. It's frustrating on both sides because the customer is talking about their problems, and the customer support has no visibility. So you go through the script of fixes that you attempt, and we never actually really understand what the underlying problem is. With Mobileye, you get the visibility that points you right in the right direction to start troubleshooting the right problem. So with coverage, very simple problem we identify, low signal strength without another AP to roam to that has good signal strength. Congestion. So Wi-Fi congestion for us is very simple to identify. It's high channel utilization on the channel we're operating on, which of course has a terrible impact on Wi-Fi performance in real-time applications. And it's easy to identify, and if there's interventions we can do to move away from it, that can be a great step in resolving an issue. Interference. So one of the really nice things we're doing with Mobileye is we're collecting all the channel scan results, so we can see if there are issues with co-channel interference, adjacent channel interference, and other RF problems that cause data rates to drop unexpectedly. So we can see that in the channel scan results here. and flag interference on our timeline. And we can also indicate the severity of it by matching that to a channel utilization number. Again, drop into the Wi-Fi scanner view here and see how many overlapping networks there are, look for a channel that's free, and move the AP to that channel. And believe it or not, we still see roaming issues outside of the enterprise. That's because it's very common now to have multi-access point mesh AP networks in the home. And so now we need to have effective roaming performance, and a sticky client can result in poor performance on a network like that too. So we can identify that very simply with Mobileye by looking at the signal strength. As you can see in the example, very low signal strength here in the presence of a neighboring access point with good signal strength that we should roam to. And it's, usually the root cause of this is an issue with the client itself, often related to a poor wireless adapter or a very old driver that is buggy, like the driver you see here. So, another advantage of running on the endpoint is we get that extra visibility into the client details that can help us discover those kind of issues and understand how to fix them. The other major problem we see in work from home networks is, what's the bandwidth, what's the performance of that residential internet connection that employees are using. So, it's very easy to see from our periodic throughput test when we've fallen below the requirements for the organization. And one of the nice things we can do here is tune the requirements so that when you see something go red, it's actually based on your own application requirements. It's not 7 signals determination, it's your own threshold for what your throughput SLA is. So if we see poor throughput and we also see that our Wi-Fi timelines are all green, there's a very good chance that the issue we're dealing with here is a internet circuit issue and not a Wi-Fi problem. So again, it gives us the data we need to really focus our troubleshooting where it needs to go. Okay, so we do have some new stuff to talk about, which I'm really happy to announce here at Wi-Fi Design Day. The first thing that just came out this morning is, again, on that the thread of making our tools more help desk friendly. There's a troubleshooting guide here in Mobileye. So for that, level 1 tech that needs help understanding what to do, what some basic interventions may be to resolve some of these issues, we put together this troubleshooting guide. They can open it up and look through some very, simple, easy things that don't require, escalating tickets to see if a problem might be able to get resolved right there at the help desk. Really happy to get that out there today, and you'll see future revisions kind of build on that as we get into more advanced, if that didn't work, try this. If that didn't work, try this kind of things. So that's very cool. The other thing we did, and we just released this a couple weeks ago, is we've focused the data so that when you drill in from the timeline, you get this nice drill down view that just focuses you on the relevant data to the type of problem you're troubleshooting. So here I've clicked on the congestion timeline, and I'm seeing channel utilization, throughput, AP client count, all the stuff that I'd want to see to get a better feel about how bad this problem is. And I also get to see, okay, what was it like before and after, which is extremely handy. And then the last thing, which I think has a lot of potential, is we now support Linux. We started with agents for thin clients because these are very popular with a lot of our customers. They're replacing bare metal Windows devices pretty commonly now. So we've got thin client support for HP Thin Pro and the iGel operating systems, and now we also have general Linux support for Ubuntu, Debian, and Red Hat. So I think there are a lot of opportunities that Linux opens up, and so stay tuned for that. I'm really excited about it. All right, just one more reminder that Gartner guide for digital experience monitoring is available at go.sevensignal.com/design day. So go check that out. Maybe Sam, we can drop that URL in the chat. And if we have time, if we have time, let's go on to our last poll and maybe do some Q&A.
This is probably the most important poll of the day.
No pressure.
So
you're going to settle an internal bet for us.
How much is on the line?
Oh, just Jim's job. That's all.
Yeah, yes. My compensation is directly tied to these results.
You best vote for Tom then. So while we just wait for those results to come through, I've got a good question here. What's probably the most significant finding or takeaway you've had about working from home Wi-Fi so far, do you think, based on sort of the data you've seen?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's really kind of the wild, wild west. You never know what you're going to get, and every home network is a snowflake. So you're sort of starting from scratch with every network, and you might find a user with a very old 2.4 gigahertz only router, and you might find a user with 3 or 4 mesh APs and all 5 gigahertz high throughput fiber to the home network. So it's very variable. I'd say that's the common thread.
Sure. Okay, so you'll be glad to know, Jim, that you've just edged it.
Oh, look at
yes.
that.
72 to 28. So there's that pay rise that you've been asking for.
Excellent. The kids get to eat this weekend.
Right.
So we've got a few minutes before we go into our lunch break. So we've got some more questions for you. So can Mobileye identify the ISP that the end user is using, and can you set up an active test to see if there's an ISP issue?
Yes, we can identify the ISP by one of the features we rolled out for work from home support in particular is a whois lookup of the public IP address the client's using. So that, of course, is tied to the ISP in use.
Yeah. Question here about GDPR, which is obviously very relevant for the UK and European audience watching. If you're collecting data around people's homes, how does that sit in with the GDPR legislation?
Yeah. So we've worked really hard actually last year to make sure everything we're doing is GDPR compliant. We've got DPAs in place that we can sign and check all the boxes necessary for that. And the data we're collecting is really just network telemetry. So it's usually not particularly interesting from a GDPR perspective. Tom, you want to throw in something too?
No, you're right on. It's GDPR compliant.
Got a question about, if the home network router doesn't allow you to do manual channel configuration, what can you really do to help the user that's got an issue?
Yeah, so a couple possibilities. You can restart the router, and that usually will trigger an automatic channel assignment. Hopefully it will choose a good channel, but I think we all know how often that's the case. And depending on the need, it might be time to replace that router. Certainly, we've seen customers having to tell their employees, your wireless router just can't do what we need it to do for work from home to work, so it's time to upgrade.
Yeah, and I know some businesses have been giving money to employees in order to upgrade their work from home setups for precisely that reason. Whether that's a new headset, a new webcam, or a new router. Question is, so that you had a couple of screenshots there. Is that the new default dashboard for 7Signal? They've said it's a big improvement from what they've seen before.
Yeah, that is our new dashboard. Sapphire actually has the same look and feel now. So this year, a lot of UI improvements for Mobileye and Sapphire, and a lot coming in the pipeline as well. So stay tuned.
And then I think one final question. What's the craziest issue that you've ever found and solved?
Wow, the craziest. Well, one of the things that comes to mind is we found, APs that go offline at a certain customer I won't name, and they, were really surprised and went and found the AP had actually been ripped off the ceiling and stolen. So that was kind of a crazy thing. Tom, you got any good examples too?
I have one use case at a hospital. Is a nurse brought a microwave oven into the locker room or by the closet, and every day their Wi-Fi was getting killed at 11:30, and took them weeks to figure out, and actually Sapphire to help them figure out what was going on. So that was the most interesting thing.
Yeah, the secret microwave.
Yeah, I think
Not a fire hazard to put one in a closet, is it?
You should make more play on your AP anti-theft device.
Right.
Okay. Is there any final words either of you would like to say before we head into lunch?
I do. I appreciate it again. Thanks for having us. But and obviously, Jim, huge resource for us. And part of Mobileye, and I know your audience is very technical, is to allow the Wi-Fi engineers to be able to work on higher level things and not worry about adapters and drivers. So Mobileye can now let the simple things get done by a help desk. So just routing the ticket the right way. Does this need to go to a desktop support instead of the Wi-Fi engineer? Everyone thinks it's Wi-Fi. So Mobileye now is going to enable Wi-Fi engineers to work on Wi-Fi and get and actually it helps the end users. It helps everybody. It helps the end users get the help they need, but also, there's Wi-Fi engineers are a very scarce resource. And today, anything that's related to Wi-Fi goes to them. So this is eliminating that logjam.